Welcome back, everybody, to Santa Fe Fashion Week, Fashion Behind the Curtain. I'm your host, Stephen Cuomo, executive producer of Santa Fe Fashion Week. I'm really excited to have on our guests today, Kristen and Bridget. Can you tell us a little bit about your business of fashion?
We created the first co-created women's underwear company. We have 1,200 women who directly added feedback into our process and helped us understand what they were looking for with their bras and panties to make the most comfortable, sustainable intimates for them.
I talked on the phone before, and I think that's an interesting way to kind of start your business. You kind of did research on your clients, or can you tell us a little bit about how you did that?
Sure. I've been in the industry as a designer for about 15 years now. So I've seen a lot of the ins and outs of what brands were doing, what they were doing right, what they were doing wrong. I obsessively followed our reviews. So I would just read every review that ever came out from any product, basically. And I would just try to understand like what they were talking about, especially in the negative reviews, to like isolate the problems that they had. And at the end of the day, what I realized was that like a lot of women were voicing the same concerns about needing comfortable undergarments, and a lot of brands were just not listening. They were like ignoring the customer. They were creating, out of their own interests versus what the customer's needs were. And it just felt like an opportunity to do something differently.
That's interesting. So I guess like A/B testing a little bit. So what was that process like? And then are you working with a local manufacturer or overseas? I'm just wondering, like, once you got that feedback, how you would kind of structure that into your garments.
Yeah, I mean, well, Bridget has been really helpful in the community side of things. So she's been really active in, engaging with our audience on a regular basis. And while we were deep in the development process, we would regularly reach out and ask them questions about the product. I'm thinking back to one of the early ones, Bridget. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, we would so everything from the like colors, the styles, the width of our straps. So I think that's probably where Chris is going. We did like a fun little one. It was around Halloween, and we had different Kit Kats like measured out. Did you want your strap to be one Kit Kat thick, two Kit Kat thicks? And so we would just make it fun as a way to interact with people, get feedback, and make sure that we were designing the things with the little micro details that they wanted.
That's interesting. So again, going back to the whole manufacturing thing, because I know that again, but the Kit Kat thing's kind of neat because it's almost like universal, so we could all know what that means. But so let's say you get the feedback, and then you're sketching these things up, if you will, and then are you sending to a manufacturer locally or overseas, and then you get back your samples, or what was that process like?
Yeah, I mean, we investigated making it locally in the US because it was a really interesting endeavor, but we ended up going with a manufacturer over in Sri Lanka. Uh, Really, there's a huge shortage of manufacturing capabilities in the US when it comes to underwear and intimates. It is a very, very time-consuming garment to make and construct, and the skills that you need just really don't exist here anymore. A lot of them, for the most part, and so we ended up going to Sri Lanka. And generally speaking, I mean the whole process was very similar to how a normal product gets made. We just kind of interjected at each spot to like kind of involve the audience and see what they had to say. So, we might get a sample, try it on a few testers or fit models, and then throw it into the community and ask what they thought about it, and like tell them our question or like something we were thinking about doing and trying instead of just doing it. We would ask them their like thoughts on it first, and then if it was like overwhelmingly positive that they really wanted this feature, then we would do it. Or if they wanted us to take something away, vice versa. I remember one time we had done our panty test, and we had gotten like our like a range of size sets, grade samples, and we had not placed the heat seal in the right place. And so it was like one of these experiments where we could see it on the models, and they could see it too. And so like we realized, oh, we need to actually change the whole layout of our heat seal so that it didn't bleed through the back side of the panty. And now it's on like a double layered side, so like nothing shows through. You don't see any like wrinkles, or like there's just there's little tiny things that kind of add up and make a better product in the end. And that's what we were trying to do, is just kind of build on these little principles to make the best product we could.
It says my ex-wife's actually from Sri Lanka. I think I mentioned that to you
Oh yeah, you
a while
did.
back. Yeah. we have beautiful. My daughter just got married, and she's like 28, but I have to admit they're gorgeous children. My son and my daughter.
I'm sure.
They're not children anymore, but yes. So.
Yeah, we spent some time there just meeting manufacturers and really trying to verify our supply chain. So it was fun to be able to go over there and see it, but just very, very gorgeous place.
Yeah, I've never been there, but yeah, I've seen pictures. I heard it's gorgeous. On TikTok, you see a lot of people. I don't know if they're actually doing it or not, or like successful, but they talk about like, building up the hype and then almost like getting it. I used to be a stockbroker, so we call it indication of interest, And so I guess they'll say, oh, we're going to do this many hoodies or whatever the case may be. And then they do a drop. So going back to like, did the community come first? Did your business come first? And then also, are these small batch runs that you're getting from Sri Lanka and then give them out to your community for free or not for free? I think the way you're doing it is awesome. I'm just kind of trying to wrap my arms around it.
We didn't do really small batch production because that's hard in bra manufacturing. There's just so many components to bras, and the MOQs required for them are really challenging often to meet. So like, for example, for some of our elastics, we had to double down and buy twice as much elastics as we needed on the first order because we couldn't meet certain minimums. So we have elastics for future, but not there's just so much. And if you think about an underwear or bra, like the pieces are tiny, so they don't actually use that much of anything when you're like making them either. So minimums just play a lot into like how big or how small you can make your orders. And then as far as like testing, we did do like testing with our community. So we had grade check samples made, and we like would do as much as we could in person on like fit models, and then we would basically mail out our sample and have our community try them on for like the long durability test, and then we'd get on calls with them. We do like fittings basically with them, and they'd come on and tell us like, oh yeah, I loved this part of it, and they'd show us. Sometimes they'd get on camera, take off their undies or their bras and switch on to ours or be wearing ours.
The other thing I think that's tricky with like, hey, we're gonna drop this color, this thing, or watch out this, next month we're gonna do this special design, is just the lead time on everything is so long. To make, if Kristen has a design and we verified it all with or all of our community, and it's we hand it off, you still need to make samples, and the manufacturer needs to make sure they can make it at production level. So there's several rounds of sampling that go back and forth. That usually takes a while. Then once you're ready to place the purchase order, it's usually like 60 to 90 days for them to actually source all the production materials, get the line set up, do the manufacturing, and then you got to get it here, right? Like, so if you put it on a boat, that's like another month. So, we're talking, 6, 7, 8. I'm thinking inventory needs, 9 months from now, 12 months from now, in addition to also thinking about, what's next month or the month after that. So it's a little bit harder to do that with this type of product.
Yeah, it's a very long process, and that's what I was thinking with being overseas. Not that there's anything wrong with doing things overseas, but to going back and forth. And then are you sourcing? Because obviously there's clips and a lot of different items that go into making a bra, I would imagine. And so are you sourcing things and then sending to the manufacturer, or is the manufacturer more like a turnkey where, again, you're saying the sketch and they're doing kind of all the sourcing for you?
So we did all of our sourcing because we had very specific requirements and very specific desires when it came to sourcing, especially as it related to sustainability. When you give your factory more control in that realm, you lose a lot of control, and you also lose the ability to really have what you want in some terms. So yeah, I mean, we really sourced just about everything that went into our bra, based on also my background. Like, I have so much experience that it kind of seems silly to not try and find everything and make it everything we wanted it to be. Part of why that is also so challenging is because bras inherently are just very, very unsustainable in a lot of ways. We make most of the components are plastic or nylon and aren't made sustainably in the first place, or like, it's just hard to scale and make them sustainably because, again, it's the minimums. It's like even if you're trying to do like a recycled fabric, like those often have higher minimums than regular, synthetic materials that are virgin. So yeah, it's like a challenging part of the process for sure.
I think what Kristen said though is actually like a really important thing, because a lot of apparel manufacturers, a lot of like bra brands, apparel brands, like they do use their manufacturer in that turnkey sense that you were talking about,
Yeah.
where it's like, here's the design, now you go find like what you think is going to work best. Like, I do want it to be like this material, but you figure out like the fabric mill that you're going to source it from. And that was exactly opposite to how we did it. Like, Kristen was talking about the transparency and being able to validate like our raw material suppliers, and quality was a big part. We had like a few things in particular. We really wanted it to be this specific elastic, or, this type of material for this. And that just added a lot of additional complexity to everything.
For lack of a better word, shelf life, bras and underwear, are they, does it have to be on trend, I guess is the word I'm thinking of. If you're a designer of a dress, let's say, and then like you said, the lead time is so long to get these dresses in, let's say, and then you under order your inventory, and then the trend changes and now you're stuck with a lot of inventory. In your industry, is it like, well, if you do you do a pretty large run, save some money, it's not going to go out of trend, or is it going to go out of trend? Is it something that you can kind of sell throughout time?
I mean, there are definitely trendy bras and underwear that, fall in and out of style quickly, but there's also classics that don't. And I would say we're definitely more aligning ourselves with like a classics kind of look. I mean, our colors are very like wearable. They're like neutrals that can also be kind of like a cosmetic fashiony color too. Like this color, for example, would be like, it would actually work as a nude on somebody with like more of a mid-tone skin tone shade, where like most people think white is the nude, where that's not true necessarily.
Essentially, so I plug my friend's drink a little bit, but I have a friend. He's a doctor at Presbyterian Hospital here in Albuquerque. I do his marketing and I get his drinks on the shelf. But it's interesting. It's not like every season he's got to come up with a different flavor. It's 3 SKUs, and once you get hooked, he's got his own challenges being in that industry. But I was just curious about that whole thing. And then, Kristen, going back to your background, so in fashion, were you always in the manufacturing side? Were you in the design side? What is kind of like your background in fashion?
So I've been mostly a designer for most of my career, but I've been in the industry for 15 years, like I said. I started in design. I've worked in very versatile roles though, which has been really helpful. So even in my very first design role, I was very responsible for like the technical side of products and helping get our samples made. So I've always thought about it much more technically than a lot of like designers would necessarily. And I think also when it comes to bras in specific, it's a very engineered garment, so you have to think about how it all is constructed quite a lot before you get to it. But I think, yeah, I mean, I had so much experience at Adore Me, which is really what kind of gave me the bug to start my own company. We were like just creating so much stuff at that time, and it was just, I was so involved in the process from beginning to end, from sourcing new factories, from creating the tech packs, from really building what the whole delivery looked like with my boss, obviously Helen, that it just gave me such an interesting insight into the industry. And then I ended up going into my own like freelance kind of consulting business after several years doing this. And I think that gave me a lot more insight, because I was doing what I was doing for other brands that were kind of smaller and just growing, and seeing how they were doing it. So it gave me a bit of more of a peek on the inside on smaller businesses that were scaling up. And it made me realize that I could help other people. If I could help other people like I help these brands, I can also do this for myself, which was really enlightening. And so yeah, I taught myself anything I didn't know. I worked hard and just believe in a growth mindset. So anything I can do to like learn and grow and adapt, I try.
Fantastic. No, it's very interesting, your background. And then Bridget, what it sounds like you said early on, you're about building a community and stuff like that. So what is your role, I guess, with the company?
Yeah. Well, definitely not designing the products. Like you, actually, I have a background in finance, so I did a kind of career switch into the fashion and apparel industry. But yeah, I think my role is more on like the operations side, the finance side. Making sure that we've got all our systems in check, supply chain. Verifying supplier certificates, working on building the community, making sure we've got that feedback and that our product development process really incorporates that viewpoint of our consumer from the very initial stage. So yeah, we're trying to kind of market the business, scale the business, and grow it. So that's the fun part here.
Oh, definitely. So you said early on, it could take 3 to 6 months sometimes to roll out a product. And how do you stay relevant? You go in, you get the people excited about it. It's like, yeah, we're gonna make these changes. Everybody's thrilled. And then you got this 3-4 months of like, I don't say nothingness, but let's say nothingness.
Yeah.
So how do you stay relevant so these people are still excited the product's coming out?
Yeah. I mean, I think part of it is sort of like involving them at different steps and sharing how we've involved them. So, Kristen talked about how we sent out sent out supplies and samples to people. We would get on Zoom calls with them. They would give us our feedback, and then we would repackage that for our community. So we would create videos of their feedback. And in the interim, while we were waiting for the next sample round, we would share, hey, this is what collab member ABC said about everything, and they could go in and they could watch things and see what was going on. We would share things that we did in response to the feedback we got at each round. So along the development process, there were plenty of opportunities. While we placed the purchase order, we kept everybody updated. We ran into some difficulties along the way that created some roller coaster drama. So we kept everybody updated along, there. Here's why this shipping got delayed. So giving them dates of like, here's kind of when we're targeting to launch. We would do something called like a bra town hall, where we would just have Zoom calls and invite anybody in our community to be able to join. So when we got our first, what was that, Kristen? Like the pre-production samples, I got in my bras and underwear and I started modeling for the group to see, what was coming for them. So I think there were a lot of ways that we just tried to, not go radio silent in these longer time periods in between placing the order, getting the product, sample rounds, and all of that.
I think it's brilliant. I think a lot of not just designers but artists, let's say in general, they're not comfortable being in front of the camera, and I think that a lot of them think that their product should speak for themselves, so they don't really have to get on the camera. And I kind of compare not only emerging designers, but kind of like emerging designers, like indie musicians. They go on tour, they press a lot of flesh. Again, they stay relevant. And I also like this concept of like. I'm a big fan of Anthony Bourdain, may he rest in peace, but he would travel around and, food and culture and kind of like documenting that process. And I think fashion designers, some of them miss out on that process of like what you're doing, documenting that journey. And often, I produce Fashion Week, Santa Fe Fashion Week. And so I always tell designers to really get the most, the biggest bang out of your buck, if you will, is documenting that journey. Oh, I got accepted, not just my Fashion Week, but I got accepted this Fashion Week, and now I got to get this ready, and here maybe do a couple photo shoots on the way there, and just squeeze as much content, if you will, so you could stay relevant and let people know what you're up to.
Yeah, people do really like that behind the scenes, and what is it like? Kristen as a designer, I think is so fun to see. Like, yeah, she has her the background right now is like that's very different than my background as the non-designer, and so right. I think just seeing those little insights into how people think and behave and act is so fun for people.
So is your business model, is it so obviously you have your community, which is wonderful? So are you a direct to consumer? Is that kind of your business model then?
Right now, that's like our primary avenue, but we are like exploring wholesale opportunities and channels. We do have like a local business that we're selling in person in, and it's been really helpful to sell in person. Our product is very, very soft, and you just cannot understand how delicious and wonderful it feels on your skin without touching it. So it's been really nice to try that avenue too. So we're kind of looking at whatever works and navigating all of the channels, but slowly and little by little to see, how well it works for us.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think
I'm sorry.
bras are a complex product in that like they're like jeans for women where like you can't just try on one pair of jeans and like know for certain that it's going to work. A lot of women are like in the wrong bra size. A lot of them like want to try on multiple sizes. Your body is kind of always changing, and so you know what was your bra size last year may not be your bra size this year. And so I think like there is still that element of like some women just want to like feel it, touch it, try it on, and so selling to that woman who's in a store where there's a physical product versus selling to the woman who is online and there's just pictures or testimonials that she can read. They're very different, right? And the way you talk to them is very different. And so I think we're starting to figure that out and you know understand what this woman needs versus what that woman needs. And so that's just kind of part of the journey of growing the business.
And then how many like I don't know if it's SKUs or like how many like a woman? So yeah, you have a website, I'm guessing, right? So what's the name of the website?
Iterationera.com.
So people go to the website, and then how many different type of underwear do you have for the offerings, I guess?
So we have 4 styles of underwear, but they come in 4 colors. So that's like 16 SKUs in underwear. And then we have 3 bras. And again, the same 4 colors. So that's 12 in. So I think it's 28 total.
Yeah, I find it a challenge on us. So you know, I do other businesses, and I do, let's say, Facebook ads, I do TikTok ads, and then you cost per acquisition of customer, let's say, you know. And so if you have four items or 5 items, and you have to spend so much money, and again, you have your community, but let's say once you want to build beyond your community, and so if you're spending X amount of dollars to drive people, either your TikTok shop or maybe your website, and then there's like you said, 6 items or 5 items, and then you have different colors and stuff like that. So they buy the product, they're happy with the product, and then ideally, you know, the cost goes down because ideally they stay with you for life for 10 years, so you can recoup a lot of that money and continue making money. So you have that business model. So I always think that's kind of interesting, you know, what it costs to capture that customer. And I think it's interesting. So I go to Magic, which is a big trade show, and the conversations I have, there's like a big food court, and kind of just feel free to talk to me because I'm not there to sell them anything. But the designers, some of them feel like it's the boutique owner's job to drive the traffic to that boutique, right? So they carry the items, they go to the boutique, and then the boutique is doing all the heavy lifting, let's say. And then some of the boutique owners are carrying designers fashion that is driving traffic to that boutique, saying, hey, my stuff's available at these different stores. So kind of helping that. So what do you think of that? I guess, and again, I ask a lot of questions in the same sense, but as far as like cost of acquisition, doing it on your own, growing beyond your community, let's say, and if you go down the wholesale route, what would that look like?
I mean, I like the idea of having the wholesale route right now as a way to lower that cost of acquisition because you start having those boutiques be your marketing presence for you. They're introducing new people that would probably never have heard of you otherwise to the brand. Where they go from there, I mean, we are starting to see, repeat customers and people coming back and doing reorders to try a new style or to try a new color or just to like restock up on things. And so that's been really fun. So I think like, you know, it'll be interesting over time to get the data of like when you get people in from a wholesale route, where do they go? Do they end up coming to the website down the line? Do they stick with their original boutique? But either way, I mean, I think it's a pretty cost effective way to start reaching more people earlier on. So that's exciting. And pop-up events as well. I think that's a way where, you know, there's not like whatever we sell at those pop-up events, we'll be able to sort of keep the dollars there and, still get people to touch it and feel it and try things on is important too, I think.
I think it's a mutual responsibility too, though. Like when it comes to like talking about where to try us on and how to find us, if there is a place locally that you could try us on and you want to, like, we should be able to tell you that. And we're still small and just starting off on this journey, so we literally only have one place so we sell in person other than the online. But at the same time, like, we do talk about it and we do mention it, and we bring it up in our emails to our community. We tell people that we're around, and especially our Connecticut audience has definitely found us in person before. It's a slow endeavor right now just because of the limited space, but we do voice and shout out our bra boutique right now as much as we can. So thank you, Philly Rose in Madison, Connecticut.
Yeah, that's a great one. We got an email this weekend of a potential customer asking, hey, like, where can I try it on locally? So I do think that point that you're bringing up about making sure that we are also communicating outwards to our community where they could try us on or find us in a local store will be important as we continue to build out that side of the business.
For sure.
Yeah. I kind of lean. It's interesting because he's just a good friend of mine. Has this energy drink, like I say, he's a local doctor. But I see a lot of like how again it's retail sales. So what we do, and I think this goes back to like doing pop up events in your industry because you could show up, get not have the investment of having a retail store, get people to try the fabric, and then they'll buy it online. Let's say. With the energy drink, let's say, for example, we don't do I guess we do pop-ups that we're in some local convenience stores here in Albuquerque, and we'll do demos. Same thing. So they're trying on a bra, they're tasting the drink, and then they know where to buy the drink. The challenge we have, and I think it's probably the same in fashion, is we're fighting for shelf space. So just like a boutique, they only have so much shelf space. So we're fighting for shelf space, and then if we get the shelf space, and again, it goes like the chicken or the egg, right? So you do a lot of social media marketing. Let's say we're available, boutiques or grocery stores, whatever. This product, and so if you do a lot of marketing and you're not in the stores, then there's no place for them to buy the product. And then if the product's in the stores, but you haven't done enough marketing, and then the boutique owner or the grocery store or the convenience store is going to say, hey, your product's not really selling. And then the other challenge, which I'm sure happens in the fashion industry, is we have a distributor, and then they distribute the drink or the clothing, and then the boutique or the convenience store doesn't pay their bill, and then the distributor doesn't want to send the drink anymore, and the person's used to buying the bra or the drink at that store, and it's no longer available. So just some things I've found just doing what I'm doing with this drink. And I think, again, because I've heard horror stories too, where, and even I think now with the tariffs and stuff like this too, let's say it's a 6-month process, you're maybe pre-selling or letting people know this product's going to cost so much money, and all of a sudden just your fabric's coming from one country, and then the manufacturer comes from another country, and all of a sudden your cost has gone way up, but you've promised in the case of wholesaling, that price. So it's just interesting, some of the challenges that, again, the doctor who never owned a drink before, or the designer's never tried to do wholesale or retail, and then he doesn't really have a big issue with returns where you would with, let's say, bras, because they want to try on 4 or 5, try them on, and then they're going to return a certain amount, right? Because you have to have a return policy. So I just think I don't know if you found any of those challenges or what I just mentioned you've heard of before.
The thing that jumped out in my mind as you were talking about those things and like vying for shelf space and all of that, I think really goes back to just like the power of involving our community from the start. Like by building the products that they really want and solving for some of the problems that they have, I think we are really creating alignment between like our brand, our consumers, and then the boutiques. So one of the things we've heard just from being in the boutiques is that we kind of fit a niche that a lot of other brands don't fit. We have this like everyday comfort. We are wire free, yet we've got this hidden supportive mesh. We are very size inclusive, so we offer both like regular cup and fuller cup option, where a lot of like bralettes out there, like it's just like a small, medium, large. And if you're chestier and a medium, like you just might not, like there might not be an option that's going to fit your cup size. So we are offering both consumers and the boutiques something different. And so I think that's been one of the things that has worked really well, and not having to like compete as hard for that shelf space.
I also think that like, it depends on how you sell it too. In our world, like our bra, like an energy drink is a drink, so there's only like one like real purpose that I can think of, and that is that like you want it to give you some energy. You're drinking it because you want some caffeine or natural energy or whatever it is. For us, like bras can be worn for lots of reasons. Actually, you could wear a bra because you're hanging around at your house and you've got a plumber there and you don't want to go braless, or like, you know, like you got somebody in your house that you're not with, or you're just going and running errands, or you could be wearing the bra because you're sleeping and you sleep in a bra, or like you could be
Going to
going
work.
out, going
Yeah.
to work, going to the gym, doing yoga. Like there's a billion different things you could be doing in our bra or in any bra. And I think when you can speak to the audience and you know how to tell them what this bra is for in their life, that's kind of how we get them in the boutique. Like we have to understand where this bra would fit into their life. Is it their bra for every day? Because it's, if it, like, for some people this bra is supportive enough that they could do anything in it. For other people it's more of like a lounge bra because they don't feel as confident as they would in a normal bra. But it's the gamut of who you are and what you want to do in your day-to-day life. Like if you work from home, you might not really want to wear a normal underwire bra all day long because it's not necessary and not comfortable. And you know
I think what you've done is brilliant, to be honest with you, because I think building the community first, building that demand, listening to your consumer, and then building what they want, I think is huge. I think a lot of people, the will build it and they'll come, but I think the way you're doing is brilliant because again, you build the demand, they love it, they're buying online, and then they're almost like demanding their neighborhood's boutique to carry this brand, or I think it's brilliant. You almost have like a bunch of foot soldiers out there, you know. Really loving your brand, your story, the founder's story, and the product because you have an excellent product. But I think that's a really great way. Are you leveraging Amazon at all, or is it strictly just all through your website?
right now it's just through our website. We're not doing Amazon, and I don't know that we will in the foreseeable future. Just I'm not sure of their model and how we want to go into that with them. But
No, that makes sense. I think unless you want to add anything, I think we'll wrap it up here. I think it's just, I want to congratulate you on your success. I think fashion design is probably the most difficult industry out there, and you're making it happen.